Nice guys always finish last, should have known that. Gave you my heart and you effed around and broke that. So sad. Pretty girls will hurt you so bad. My name is Ray and there is a creature in this world. And it's known as the nice guy. It tricks you into thinking it's all charming and chivalrous, and then it snaps at you when you don't give it what it wants all the time. It can be quite nice, it can even be quite kind, maybe even empathetic. It's just not a very attractive option for most women. Do you know what is though? A distinguished gentleman. There does seem to be a little bit of confusion on what differs these two types of men, so today I've taken it upon myself, you are welcome, to diagnose and highlight the differences between these two types of men, starting with conditional mannerisms. Our first guy takes a girl out on a date. On the way there, he picks her up from her house, holds open all the doors and speaks with very polite manners. Midway through the date, our guy thinks it's a great idea to ask his date what she thinks of his anime hoodie of his waifu. She of course tries not to laugh in his face, but she does respond.
Cartoons aren't really my thing.
Cartoons? He says. He's absolutely shocked, he's flabbergasted at this. How dare she disrespect his sacred anime like that? Up until this point, our guy has actually been quite nice and charming, but from now on, he becomes bitter and irritated. He takes this response to heart and chooses to split the bill. He doesn't hold the door for her on the way out, completely forgets his manners and drives her all the way home in complete silence. Our second guy, on the other hand, meets a very lovely girl walking her dog in the park. Her bag breaks as she walks past him and he kneels down to help her pick it all up. They end up planning to go and get coffee sometime. What an absolute rizzler this guy is, because all he's done is he's helped her pick up her shopping and he's somehow got on a date. What a guy. On their date, they're getting along, they're having fun, and our second guy has treated this girl with, I would say, the same manners that our first guy did up until this point. They begin talking about a topic that our second guy is quite passionate about: self-improvement. She begins to joke about young men and how they try to improve themselves and it's absolutely useless and cringe, and she even starts to mock him. He doesn't take it to heart, but he does realise that maybe he's lost interest for this girl after the conversation. So even though he feels mocked and slightly disrespected, he still pays for the bill, he still holds the doors open for her, and he still speaks to her in a polite way. Our second guy remained fluid in his mannerisms. A strong trait of masculinity is having a level of control over your emotions and feelings and not allowing them to devour you and control your behaviors. An emotional man will struggle to remain consistent in his mannerisms because he's more likely to be driven by his emotions. Nice guys typically act like this, where their mannerisms are conditional to how they feel, and that trait of inconsistency is very unattractive to most women. That's not to say that if a woman does disrespect you on a date that you should always pay and you should basically just turn into a different kind of nice guy where you do everything for her and you kind of get walked on for it, because that's very different. Of course, if you pay for a woman on a date and she's disrespecting you and you do a lot of good things for a woman and she continues to disrespect you, you're just rewarding that behavior, and that's what you don't want. A scenario that I'm talking about is where you have a girlfriend and she's typically very lovely. Usually she's very, very lovely. She's very nice, she's very respectful, and then one night you go on a date with her and she disrespects you. Maybe she's had a bad week or a bad day or something. Don't then refuse to pay, right? Because that would be conditional. You would be unhappy at the fact that she's disrespected you, and so you would choose not to pay from that. That makes you an asshole. So I'm talking specifically on first date instances. If it's in your mannerisms to pay for the woman on the first date and you have the assets to do so, continue to do it no matter how you feel in that time. Loose priorities. Our first guy has a plan to go on a date with a girl, so he puts on his waifu hoodie. Okay, fine. Goodness me, look, I can see you doing the dislike on the video. Don't do the dislike on the video. I'll stop with the waifu stuff. He gets all ready to go and leaves a little bit early to get to the cinema, just a tiny bit earlier so that he can get some popcorn and reserve the seats. He waits and waits. His message from earlier still says delivered, and it's been 20 minutes past the time that he planned with this girl. Then suddenly, he hears a ping on his phone.
Hey bestie.
With like 5 or 6 Ys.
I completely forgot to tell you, but I've got something to do tonight. I can't really make our date.
Oh no, this is not looking good, is it? He reads it in frustration, but he replies to her and he says it's fine, we'll do another day. The next day arrives and the same thing happens. This guy gets stood up 2 more times after this by her, and even moves around his work schedule just for her. She now knows that she can cancel on him if she feels and still remain number 1 on his list of priorities. Our second guy is in the exact same scenario. Before anything, he's already planned a time later in the day and he's got all of his work done. He's done his gym session, all before the date. He arrives on time and waits a good amount of time for his date to arrive. After waiting for a little while, our guy messages the girl, just asking, you know, you having some trouble getting here? Are you still interested? And she replies to him with the exact same message she said to the first guy. Our second guy gives her the benefit of the doubt and he plans another day with her. He lets her know in the most polite way that he takes pride in his time and would like to be made aware in good time if she isn't interested or she can't make it. The second date arrives, and an hour before he has to go, he messages her just to double check that she's going to be able to make it this time. He gets no response, and so he saves his time and energy and doesn't go. A gentleman will always have his priorities straight and won't allow himself or his time to be messed about. A very distinguished gentleman will not move his priorities around in order to please a woman. He'll remain firm where they lie. Nice guys tend to have very loose priorities in the sense that they put every woman that gives them the light of day on a pedestal and perceives them as more important than any other aspect of their life. Women aren't attracted to men who will just move everything around for them and make them the first priority, which is weird because this is kind of where most guys go wrong and they tend to believe the opposite. Stable women like stability, and for the most part, to not be your number one priority or to not be able to move your priorities for you. The next section is great, but before that, I have a YouTube channel, and it's the one that you are right now, currently. I know I can see you through the screen watching. Definitely consider dropping a like or a subscribe, either one, whatever you're feeling. If you like this kind of educational content, because I post just like this 3 times every single week. If you're not too sure yet, wait till the end of the video and then make your decision. Our first guy's in a new relationship with a woman, and ever since the beginning, he's very coincidentally agreed with her on everything. Maybe they're just really genuinely compatible. Nope. No, he's just afraid to disagree with her. Her favorite type of coffee is a mocha with cream. Guess what, guys? So is his. She thinks that Taylor Swift makes the best music on the planet. No way, so does he. He feels very depressed and unheard about something, but guess what? He doesn't say. She thinks opening up the relationship and allowing herself to go and have fun with other guys, but he can do it too, is a good idea. And after very careful consideration, so does he. Our second guy is in a new relationship with a woman. They have many different interests and opinions, but the second guy isn't afraid to be real. He's firm in his belief, but also keeps an open mind and is willing to change with enough rational convincing. His girlfriend can't quite understand why, but she's very attracted to this. She loves the fact that her differing opinions can't sway his, but she also understands that if he's ever wrong about something, he's open-minded enough and humble enough to listen, learn, and change his opinion without the motive to please anybody. A common trait of the nice guy is having no authenticity or balls to believe in something that genuinely makes sense to them. They don't have the balls to stand up for a belief or opinion, no matter who they're talking to. One of the strongest pillars of masculinity is just this, having the spine and balls to stand up for what you genuinely believe. The best men in this world have the courage to stand up for what they believe. Nice guys tend to throw all of their genuine beliefs out the window for any woman they deal with. Along with this, they tend to do the same when it comes to their feelings and how they feel within the relationship. This is how cucks are created, which brings us to our next point: no boundaries. Our first guy's been in a relationship with this girl for a little over a year now. Rules and deal breakers weren't really something that they spoke about at the beginning of their relationship, and so none have really been established. He approaches her one day about an issue that's been on his mind recently. He doesn't like when she goes clubbing every Saturday. He sees all these drunk guys trying to dance with her on her friends' Snapchat stories, and it makes him feel a little bit angry, a little bit insecure. She responds to this matter in a very offended way.
So you don't want me to have a social life?
Is what she says. I sound like a girl when I do that. I've got a really good girl voice. Our poor guy has no success with this attempt to communicate and has 2 options. He can accept the fact that his woman doesn't value him enough or respect him enough to communicate and then leave her for a woman who doesn't want to party every single Saturday, or he can stay with her and cope and cope and cope, and then his mental health disintegrates and she just continues to do whatever she wants and he remains completely powerless. Our second guy, on the other hand, he's been with his girl for a little over a year too. I know, it's a crazy coincidence. He's been pretty firm on what he would and wouldn't condone in his relationship from the very beginning. Both him and his girlfriend have very healthy communication habits, and he's very firm on his boundaries within the relationship. His girlfriend is aware that if she were to ever cross certain boundaries, she would lose this relationship and this man that she values so much. And so she doesn't. Of course, it goes without saying, but both this man and this woman are very compatible, and so their boundaries match up. Both are happy. I believe this is one of the biggest differences between a distinguished gentleman and a nice guy. It's important to be firm within your boundaries and have it known that certain behaviors just won't be tolerated. A lot of nice guys, for example, would believe that cheating is wrong and unforgivable. However, if they ever got cheated on by a woman who they were with for a long time and they're very in love with, they would cope to the moon and back on why they should forgive her. That creates a man with weak boundaries, and if a woman is with a man with weak boundaries, she'll feel like she can do whatever she wants and still have you. That's why it's very important to have your boundaries in mind, have them known in the relationship, and have it known that there will be consequences for certain actions, such as making it known that you are going to break up if she cheats on you. Rejection. Guy number one goes on a date with a pretty nice girl he met online. During their date, he feels like it's going pretty well, and he's actually starting to imagine a second date. Come on, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Towards the end of the date, he tips his fedora and there's a new pizza place downtown. He says, why don't we go and try it out next weekend?
I would love to.
She says,
but I have this exam and
I never wanted to go with you anyway, you foul beast. Oh no, he's really taken this to heart, bless him. You're mid anyway, lol. All of the mannerisms and people pleasing gone completely out the window now that he feels he's been rejected. Guy number two also goes on a date with a lovely girl he met online. It's like these two were created by the same person. Very weird. They spend the entire dinner chatting and he really believes that they're hitting it off, just like our last guy. They eventually get ready to leave and he invites her out again next week.
I would love to, but if I'm being honest, I just don't think we're really connected.
Tonight is what she says, but probably not, because nobody, especially not women, have the balls to straight up reject you with the actual truth in real life, so that probably didn't happen. Our guy is of course gutted, a little upset, but he of course remains consistent in his mannerisms. Hey, that's completely fine, he says as he walks her out, pays for the bill, walks her to an Uber. You've likely seen the memes and jokes online of nice guys treating rejection like they're babies, and it's very true, it does happen. Rejection isn't nice, it actually sucks really bad. But the best men in the world don't allow rejection to impact them in their consistency. A very distinguished gentleman will remain respectful and polite when handling rejection, but a nice guy, it's like a self-pitying 0 to 60 burst of resentment, all because they didn't hear what they wanted to hear. There's a little twist to the video. Guy number one was actually the gentleman. No, I'm kidding. Okay, I'm kidding. Nice to meet you. I'm kidding. Don't be like guy number one. Be like guy number two in all of the examples. 5 differences between a distinguished gentleman and a nice guy. I've been Ray, and if you don't subscribe, I'm going to take my collection of fedoras and I'm going to just spam them at you. Just over and over again. I'm just going to hit you with all of them. Goodbye.